thanks everybody for actually showing up tonight. I think that others not to show up and show my name. It's kind of important. So I appreciate that side. Neil mentioned I am a Virginia Tech coach here on the men's soccer team. I have a wonderful wife, Kimberly. I have lost my wedding ring, so it's a little subject. Most men do. I do a lot of things. That's what men do, right? So we have a dog. And we have a cat. Unfortunately, we had 2 cats last week. One passed away from cancer. But knowing my wife, we'll have 2 cats again this weekend, so everything is going to be back to normal. All right? So to begin, let me just around a little bit. When Neil basically told me, which is kind of what happens at this church, that I'd be up here talking, at first I had some hesitation. It wasn't because I struggle in front of large groups, I'm in front of large groups all the time. It wasn't because my evenings are full, which is pretty typical, but it's the summer, so I had that free. But it was because I didn't know what I was going to say, honestly. Because I look at my testimony, what someone would say is a testimony, it's just not that cool. It's just not that amazing or awesome of a story, honestly, right? So I don't have anything where like I grew up with abusive parents, or I lived on 8 Mile, and I had a crack addict mom, and the only way out was Jesus and my sick rapping ability. I don't have that kind of stuff, right? The exact opposite, actually. I grew up in a suburb of Washington, D.C., with 2 amazing parents. All right, yeah, Fairfax, how about you? Woodbridge, Fairfax, all right, nice. Robinson, George Mason. Madison. All right. So, anyways, right, I grew up with 2 fantastic Christian parents, right? 2 older sisters. Family was very supportive of everything, very loving. It was almost as picture perfect as you can imagine. And on the inside also, I know some people have this whole front where it's like, oh, everything's perfect, and then the inside there's all these issues. It wasn't really like that, right? So, for me personally, growing up in that type of environment was great, right? Like, I think the hardest thing for me growing up, when I think back, was always having to be in the middle seat in the station wagon when we took long trips. You know where that big hump was? So the dog would be sitting there, my kneecaps would be in my chin, basically. That was the worst part, honestly. So when I was thinking about that, and thinking about what to say, and how can I relate this to be some kind of cool story? The story really doesn't go back to me, right? The amazing story is already taken place. The amazing story is that God gave His only Son to save me. That's the amazing story behind all this stuff, right? So I'm this guy that was living a perfect, childhood, growing up in high school, everything going well, doing all things that morally is probably proper and society thinks is positive and all that kind of stuff. But I'm a fallen guy, right? The guy down the street selling drugs and we're going to the same spot if it's not for Christ. And so as I started thinking about this, but there wasn't a guy down the street selling drugs unless Mrs. Smith was doing it or something that we know about. But my point being is that through all of that, even though that was my lifestyle, if it's without Christ, I'm fallen, I'm done, right? So I've gotten a little bit off topic, honestly, because I didn't want to go all into that. I wanted to really focus on not so much on how I found Christ, really how Christ found me, but more so what God's done in my life since that time, all right? So if you guys would pray for me for a second here. God, we love you so much. Thank you for this time that we get to share our stories with each other in a free space. I pray that anyone in this room that's struggling with anything, or those that even can't be here, that they go to you and you're with them through those tough times. If it's marriage or work or whatever it is, school, that you comfort them. Father, I thank you for the best miracle of all, which is your Son, Jesus Christ. In His name, amen. Thanks for that. So, okay, long story short, which is very difficult for me. I tend to like to hear myself talk. All right, my wife will attest to that. Is anybody from our small group actually in here? No, okay, good, so I can tell what we're telling them. All right, so I think it was the 3rd session. So we were kind of new to the small group. I think the 3rd session in, and we were talking about leadership. And I bring up the fact that confidence is behind a lot of times leadership. You gotta have some confidence, and there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, right? And my wife pipes in, and she's like, yeah, and Jeff crosses that line all the time. And then one of these other members, and again, this is like maybe the second week, was like, yeah, we knew that the first night we met him. And I'm like, is this not supposed to be like a comfort area where we're building with everybody? But, so Neil, I'll give him the name so you can get him out of our small group. So anyways, I went through high school not really knowing Christ. Fortunately enough, freshman year in college, I met a guy that just shared the word with me and dropped what I call gospel bombs on me, right? Like, just fell to my knees, felt convicted, and just really learned what the word was about. It was sweet, okay? So I'm not going to focus on that. If you want to talk to me later about that, I can tell you about it. But that changed my life, and that was the time that I said, look, I have a lot of good things going for me, but I'm a fallen guy, and I'm going to start living the way I'm supposed to be living for God, right? So a little background, more background about me. So not only am I the assistant coach here at Virginia Tech, I'm the executive director of the local soccer club as well. It's called New River United. Has anybody ever heard of that club? All right, see some heads. Okay. I'm sorry, I apologize now. And I will tell you this, right? And for those of you that do know about the club, or for those of you that run into people that are associated with the club, it's a big club for the area. There's a 50% chance that they won't have good things to say about me. It's not really things that I've done, honestly. It's if you want to make enemies, tell a parent that their child isn't quite good enough, and they'll do anything like that, I promise. All right, so anyways, so before I came down here, I was the assistant coach at American University in Washington, D.C., all right? And I was also the U18 head coach for the D.C. United Youth Academy. So both positions, pretty high up in the soccer world. American University, winning tradition, top 25 team. DC United, I'm sure a lot of you guys, if anybody who follows soccer has heard of it. So it was, in the youth world, it was a very high-end position, right? So I started coaching at age 29, and then just kind of worked myself up into those positions, right? Sorry, started at 22, worked myself up into those positions at 29. So having spent like those past 7 years in Washington, D.C., I remember I was a Christian, right? I was doing a lot of things that probably 20-somethings do in Washington, D.C., which maybe some of you guys do in Washington, D.C., I don't know. But, I was obviously focused on my career, just trying to get to the next level, trying to earn a buck, chasing girls, and not in like a bad way, but just in a way that was probably inappropriate, but on that borderline, okay? And which, again, is not uncommon, I think, for a lot of people when they find themselves in that environment. And I know for me, personally, when I'm in those environments, I do start finding those idols, okay? So anyways, during that time, and again, I was completely living for myself. I was still involved in Bible studies and churches and all that good stuff because I was a Christian. I was, there's no question about that, right? So I go to like the newest high-end bar or whatever, and I just sit down with my boy, I'd be telling him, what God's doing in my life and Jesus and all that kind of stuff, and then go walk by and be like, I'll be right back. So just one of those kind of things. And during one of those Bible studies, we started a book called In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day. Is anybody familiar with this book at all? Okay. It's written by Mark Batterson. Mark Batterson at the time, and I'm not sure now, but he was a preacher in the D.C. area. Okay. And the book opens up about Benaiah. So for those of you that don't know Benaiah, he was part of David's 30 mighty men, and these 30 mighty men were like the baddest of the bad, right? They're talking about bad to the bone. If any of you men want to feel weak, go read about these guys, because they'll shut you down fast, all right? But anyways, he focuses on Benaiah, and he goes on to say, he takes the first lesson on Scripture, 2 Samuel chapter 23, verse 20. There was also Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, a valiant warrior from Kabzeel. He did many heroic deeds, which included killing 2 of Moab's mightiest warriors. Another time he chased a lion down into a pit. Then despite the snow and slippery ground, he caught the lion and killed it. Another time, armed only with a club, he killed a great Egyptian warrior who was armed with a spear. Benaiah wrenched the spear from the Egyptian's hand and killed him with it. So, again, I'm 29, I'm reading this stuff, and I'm thinking, man, this guy is a bad A double. I need to be more like this guy, right? And he takes, all right, Mark Batterson takes this, right? And again, it talked to me because, type A, grab bull, by its horns type lifestyle. And basically says, you need to take these risks. You need to be chasing dreams for God's purpose, right? Chasing what God wants for us, not necessarily what we want for ourselves, which is, hard to hear. So I started praying about it, and probably like a lot of you guys, when you come out of a Bible study or off a book that was really awesome, you dig down a little bit deeper sometimes. Maybe it's for a week, 2 weeks, I don't know. But I was praying about this, basically, God, hey, steer me in the right direction. Let me fight my flesh, all my wants. Let me follow you. What is my purpose for you? What do you want from me? And then God came calling, right? Which, by the way, can be one of the scariest things ever. So about a week after finishing that book, I get a phone call from a buddy down here. He's the head coach at Virginia Tech. And he says, hey, Jeff, we have an opening on our staff for a volunteer assistant position. And it would also, that position would be in charge of the club. I said, all right, what are you looking for? He said, look, just a young, up-and-coming guy. I know you're connected to a bunch of people, so maybe you put the word out. Probably like a 22, 23-year-old that just wants to, get his feet wet. I'm like, all right, no problem. I didn't really think much of it during that conversation. So that night, I go to sleep, and I just can't, for whatever reason, get this job off my mind, right? So I'm like, my stomach's turning, and I'm going all over the place, and I'm one of those people that if something's on my mind, I can't sleep, right? So maybe it was bad meatloaf, I don't know, but it was bad. It was a bad night. So the next morning, I woke up and started praying about it, and I called him back and I said, hey, can you give me some more information about the job? And he said, yeah, no problem. It turns out the salary was also bad. Okay, so I'm like, okay. Yeah. So I'm doing whatever I can to make sure that I do not want this job, right? So I start talking to people, and I encourage you all that ever have to make life decisions or any decisions to go out and reach out to other Christians, right, and talk to them about it, and make sure you're having conversations with them and get their opinions on it, right? Seek counsel. So I go out there, and obviously I'm praying, I'm getting in the Word, I'm doing all these things, and I'm meeting with people, and I'm telling them, but for some reason, my heart is telling me I got to take this job. I don't even want to do it, right? So, here are the facts, right? I'd be leading a top 25 program at American University that had been in the conference championship 5 previous years, and we were built what we thought for a very deep run NCAA tournament, okay? For a team that had only won 5 games at Virginia Tech and looked like they weren't going to win many more the following year, right? So not only that, but I was leaving a high-end club job that was respected around the country to take on a position that nobody had ever heard of unless you're in Southwest Virginia, okay? I already told you the salary was 60% less than what I'd be making up there. I'd be leaving as a single guy, a town of 20,000 people, right? With the population of ages 25 to 35, like 11 or 12, something like that. So, again, for me, I was doing everything I could, and everybody does their pros and their cons, and it was just con. So this lasted for 3 or 4 days, and again, I met with a lot of Christian friends, and we started talking about it. And to a man, they all said, look, you got to go. You don't have a choice, right? What are you doing? The guys that weren't Christians, right, that were in my other life and, my career and stuff like that, they were all like, are you kidding me? Are you smoking something? Can I get some? That kind of stuff. So what it came down to is I met with a good friend of mine. He told me something that, again, I'll never forget. He said, look, if everything worldly is telling you not to take it, but everything godly is telling you to take it, then why are we even talking about this, right? So that hit home, and what it made me realize is like, look, God works in the 1% all the time, right? Who are we to put God in this box and say, hey, this is how God does business, right? God does miracles all the time. We just don't necessarily see it. So going through that, I decided to come down, obviously, all right? And that was 5 years ago. But let me go over the reward I received for that during the first 4 months. So to begin with, at Virginia Tech, I lost more games than I had lost at American University in 3 years combined, okay? The club itself was in shambles. At one point, 4 months in, we had $76 in the bank, and the board of directors, we were meeting to say, we may have to shut this down, Jeff, you're not going to have a paycheck, right? I was lonely, right, frustrated, sad. I mean, it was rough. It was a rough time. And from there, kind of what started taking place was during that time, I started meeting with some godly people down here, right? Getting in with the Bible study group. And personally, started digging deeper into the Word, digging deeper into prayer. Just really started focusing on my relationship with God. Because quite honestly, I didn't really have a whole lot else going on for me, right? It was like everyone's telling me what a terrible decision I made, all that kind of stuff. Then I get a phone call, right, from Division I athletics director. And remember, my goal in life was to be a Division I head coach. And he calls me and says, hey, Jeff, our head coach is leaving and you're my guy. So why don't you come up Monday for an interview? So I packed my bags, I went up and knocked it out of the water. I came back and I'm like, man, praise God. God's awesome. It's all working out just like he planned. I should have known better. Why did I ever not even think that he didn't have this all planned out for me, right? The guy calls me and he offers me the job. Well, so that night, I had the exact same feeling that I had the night that I figured out that I should probably come down here. Where it just wasn't right, It was nothing, my stomach wasn't right. I was turning, I was tossing, So again, what I do? I deep prayer, right? Get into deep prayer. Get into the Word, talk with people, figure out, hey, what's going on here? And same exact story, right? Godly folks are like, look, over the last 4 months, just think about how closer you've gotten to God. Think about your relationship there, okay? You need to stay. Everybody else, career-wise, I had ADs that I called that told me, career suicide. You will never get a head coaching job if you turn this one down. This is your one opportunity. And that's hard to hear. Remember, that was like 8 years of my life. That was my goal. And I had ADs telling me it was never going to happen. So, anyways, all right, I decided to stay, right? Because I realized that the things that I want for myself isn't necessarily what God wants for me. And on top of that, what God wants for me is much better than any of those things, okay? So, I don't want you guys to think that I came down here and my life just stinks, okay? Because I don't want, I'm not Job or that kind of stuff. One part that I did not mention was my first day here on the job. I went to lunch at the cellar. And I met, sorry, I'm gonna cry. I met this girl, this pretty girl, right? Her name was Kim. She's a waitress. And she was very quick to tell me she had a boyfriend, right? And I was very quick to not even care. So remember, I was coming from like reading about Benaiah, right? I'm like, oh, my lion, forget about this, no problem, right? If I'm not chasing a lion, I'm gonna chase a lioness. I got this, right? The lion's did, right? So, anyways, we built a relationship. And I found out when she worked, and I was always hanging out those nights, And probably 2 years after that, I was walking my dog down the street from my house. And Kim pulls up into the house next door to mine. I'm like, Kim, what's going on? She's like, oh, hey, I'm moving in here. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. Let's go for a walk. And we got married last year. Woo! So my point, right, is, and look, 2 weeks ago, I can say this because it definitely happened. 2 weeks ago, I'm sitting there, I'm on the couch, Kim's on my right, our dog's on the left, not the same dog. My first dog was actually much better, kind of stuff. So the dog on the left, Kim on my right, and I look at her and I'm saying, gosh, you are so blessed. You're so blessed. She looks right at me and says, we are. And look, that's not to say we have like a perfect marriage, right? I'm a guy. I do stupid things. I'm dumb, right? She's a girl. She doesn't like stupid things. This is how it works, okay? But, at the end of the day, even if, I didn't find him, and it wasn't God's plan, everything would have worked out as he planned, right? So, you see, for me, God's plan for us is so much more than any plan we could ever imagine, right? And I don't mean money or wealth or marriage or any of this kind of prosperity stuff where if you follow God, your life is going to be awesome, right? Or at least what society thinks is awesome. But if you are willing to go out and follow him, right, and for his plan, we're going to be blessed in ways that we can't even imagine. So as I was going through this stuff and thinking about what I was going to talk about, I pulled up a passage from Ephesians 1:11. In him we were also chosen, having been predestined according to the plan of him who works out everything in conformity with the purpose of his will. So again, first off, I appreciate you guys not falling asleep on me. I know that was a little long. But at any time, if you feel like God's talking, listen. Thanks, everybody.